Hello and welcome back to the Perth to Paisley Podcast, episode number 78. Me and Adam were just speaking about it off air. We still can't remember which episode now, but it is every single week we need to check. However, this is probably going to be like last week, where actually we're going to be positive, which is a real novelty for us too, as you'll know if you've listened, because Hearts have picked up 4 points from a possible 6 since we last spoke, which is very exciting. So we'll be discussing all that and a whole bunch of other stuff, as always. I am Daniel, and I'm joined by Adam. Adam, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Yeah, I've got a little sort of reading week at uni, but this is also conveniently the week which my family's timeshare falls up at Cameron House. So recording the pod, driving up there this week, and then it'll be released once I'm up there. So that'll be great to bore them with listening to us two losers speaking about Hearts. So yeah, I'm good, mate, and pleased that the positive predictions from last week have come to fruition. What about yourself?
Definitely, I'm doing very well myself as well, because it's actually been a really good week for Hearts, following off a good week previously. However, we're going to start this off with a bit of a news section that we don't really do, but we didn't know where else to fit this because it doesn't really naturally follow any of the topics, and we were meant to speak about one of them last week, and we were too excited about the St Mirren game to speak about it. We basically forgot.
It'd been so long for a victory that we just thought, do you know what? That'll take, the vast majority of that pod. So that was great.
Exactly. So the first point is, I will preface this with, neither of them are particularly happy points. So It's going to be a positive episode, but at the start, it's kind of sad.
Negatives out of the way. Yeah.
The first piece of news is that, as many people of Christendom, the voice of Tynecastle, Scott Wilson, has been revealed by the Edinburgh Evening News that at the end of this season, he will be stepping down in his role as stadium announcer. He will still be taking part in hospitality events and staying around as part of the club, but he will no longer be doing any form of stadium announcements, which of course means no Scott Wilson on match days. And for us, Adam, there has never been another voice of Tynecastle. Of course, when Scott has been ill or been unable to fill it, there have been people such as Mark Martin, who seems to be his
He's the only other one that sort of springs to mind, but for the most part, it has been Scott.
But it's hard to kind of go, what are your main memories of Scott? Because they're all so linked to great Hearts memories that we've probably spoken about on the podcast before. But what was your main reaction when you heard this news?
Gutted, actually. It is a bit bizarre. I don't think it will quite sink in for now. It'll be when it's next season, and I'm assuming it's going to be Mark Martin that fills the role. I don't know. Whoever then, I was going to say it's it's big shoes to fill, but it's not. It's a big microphone to hold.
Microphone to hold. That's a good one.
Is that appropriate? So, I think in terms of you talking about best memories, I think our best memories are probably little bits of shithousery that Scott has sort of put into the match day experience. I think when Hearts ended Celtic's invincible run and he was playing Christmas songs, that was a time to be alive. That's probably the one that sticks out first and foremost.
For me, there's another one with Celtic. It's when Osman Sow scored the equaliser and he's going, there will be 4 minutes of added time waiting for me. It's not so, and just loses the run of himself. That was one of the first thoughts I had when I saw it. Also, for me, weirdly, there's one, the player, not our former player, but the active player, John Robertson.
Yes.
Did he used to play for St Mirren?
I've no idea.
Basically, we played whoever he was playing for at Tynecastle years ago, and I remember being right down the front of the Gorgie, and he came on as a sub in the 58th minute or something like that. So say it was St Mirren, it was substitute for St Mirren in the 50th minute, so-and-so was coming for John Robertson, and the entire stadium sarcastically cheered, and he just came back on the mic and was like, nah, know that yet. As you say, wee moments like that make him really feel connected and feel human. And I know it's because we've listened to him for so long, but he has such an iconic voice.
Yeah, he does. And I think there's also kind of tracks that will listen to at Tynecastle and you think that's one of Scott's choices, yes. 100%. I think for me personally, probably, I think is it This Charming Man. That
Yeah,
I always think of Scott Wilson when that plays for whatever reason.
I think A Beautiful Day.
Yeah, they seem to be kind of the two main staples. So hey, it's a beautiful day, and we have to thank This Charming Man for all his great work at Hearts. Hey,
we're not going to do any better than that this show. That's the peak of the show, 5 minutes in. Why have you done this? That was fantastic.
See you next week. Take care.
So yes, greatly missed. We'll no likely speak about him as the season goes on, and when he officially leaves, we'll also speak about him properly then as well. However, another piece of very sad news is that at the Aberdeen game, just before, which we'll get into obviously, just before kickoff, there was a minute's applause for the former player of Hearts, Alan Anderson. And basically, we obviously, due to our age, but most people really didn't get to see Alan Anderson as much as, by accounts, we all wished we had. I'll read aspects of the statement, as Hearts called him one of the finest ever servants on the club. He played a remarkable 537 times for Hearts, of which 475 were competitives. He scored 37 goals, 31 in competitive matches, and for someone who was not an attacker,
that's not bad.
That's
not bad return, actually.
As the club say, regretfully, like so many of our fine players, he was always a runner-up. He was clearly a part of the team that was just after when we were winning everything and doing very, very well. But I like the little piece that Hearts say, which I think is the best line. He might have been brought up in the streets of Leith, but his heart was always maroon. That's a great line. I love that. And just incredibly sad to see someone who captained the club, made over 500 appearances, has passed away. But the minute's applause for him was fantastic. And fair play to Aberdeen fans as well, who they all took part in it as well.
I think everybody appreciates the magnitude, particularly now in the modern day, of playing over, what was that? Over 475, was that?
475 competitive appearances.
475 competitive appearances. Like, that is just bonk. That's literally every single league. Yeah, every single league game for the best part of what? 12, 13 years?
Yeah.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So I think it was very good to the Aberdeen fans. I'm a massive fan of the minute's applause, because I feel like that's, you're appreciating their achievement.
It's a celebration of life,
rather than, mourning in silence. So impeccably observed, and rest in peace, Alan. That's literally a fantastic achievement. And it's a bit cheeky for me to say thanks for your service, given obviously he was playing for Hearts long before either of us arrived on the scene. But we can certainly appreciate all that you've done for our magnificent club.
Absolutely. And the game that the minute's applause took place on was the games that we'll now speak about, which was a brilliant night for Hearts.
Fantastic.
However, of course, we start with Around the Grounds, because there was a full card of Premiership fixtures midweek, as Celtic kind of comfortably won 2-0 at St Mirren, but they were definitely made to work to it. Obviously, we had our game. Livingston just continued this train of European football as they beat Dundee United.
They leapt up to fourth.
I know.
I had them to go down at the start of the season. Like, what is happening?
It's unbelievable. They beat Dundee United 2-1. Ross County also continued this European push train as they defeated Motherwell 1-0. Rangers really narrowly beat St Johnstone 1-0, and what is fast becoming Sean Maloney's favourite scoreline, Hibs drew away 0-0 at Dundee. What did you make of the midweek results?
Midweek results, I think Celtic had to win 3-0, so then they won 2-0, boring, 2 second half goals, nothing really to shout about. Had Hibs to beat Dundee, because their record against Dundee is actually really good.
Yeah.
When conducting the research, but obviously going down to 10 men. I know they played for the best part of an hour with all 11 on the park. Is that a good result? Probably not.
Yeah.
I said 2-1 on the pod, so we're going to come into that later on for Hearts, because when a certain somebody stepped up from the spot, I was thinking, oh, well, if this finishes 2-1, at least I'll have that. But needless to say, that was not the case. Livy, United, I think, had as a 1-1 draw. Livy nicked that late on, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
To then go up to fourth, like I say. Motherwell, Ross County, I couldn't separate, but that's a brilliant win for County. The fourth best team in the league, absolutely no doubt about it. They're in a false position for me. And I had Rangers to win 2-0 at McDiarmid Park. So when they took the lead after 3 minutes, I was thinking, this could be 3 or 4. To then only win 1-0 is a wee bit underwhelming. But yeah, no real surprises, I don't think. Perhaps maybe Hibs being held at Dens. And Motherwell have just fallen away. I see lots of chants or shouts from their fans for Graham Alexander to depart. And I know that they've sort of dropped like a stone, but is that not just reflective of kind of everybody else in the league starting to earn points off one another? I don't know.
It's interesting, but I did see that neither Aberdeen or Motherwell have won in 2022 yet.
It's crazy, mate. Absolutely crazy. There was that stat a couple of weeks back where I think they compared the two and Dundee United as well, because they were seemingly kind of sort of within the top 6 for ages, and I don't want to say on the verge of competing with us because they sort of weren't. Motherwell and United were, and we've pulled off, but this league, it's absolutely, it's bonkers.
I think it was Robert Borthwick on the Terrace describe it as this league isn't. You can't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, the middle, 11, 12. Because there's just that 6-team section. I'm
not even sure you can go 4, to be honest.
I know, you can't.
I don't know who's like. Who do you think is going to finish 4th? It matters not a hit. You think Livy are going to do it?
Look at the run they're on. They've only lost to Celtic in recent weeks.
I sincerely hope that it's Livy or Ross County, and I never thought I'd utter those words. Just for the hilarity and the shithousery, I'm all for it. Why not?
Well, as we say, as all the games were going on, Aberdeen travelled to Tynecastle, and in the last maybe decade, it's probably been quite a happy hunting ground for them. We just famously seem to be rubbish against Aberdeen, but then turn it up in big games. I'm thinking of the cup win that we had on penalties recently, where it was a fever pitch cauldron. I remember that game was pretty mental. Then Uche, we beat them 2-1 when Uche scored, but I can often think of Aberdeen getting results against us in recent years.
It's more so a point, really. I think
that's what I mean. Getting results.
It usually, because we haven't had, even like when we were struggling, I think the season we went down, we drew against them 1-1 when Machino scored that absolute
Sean
raker.
Clare got sent off now and McGinn scored a raker.
That's right. Well. And then you obviously talked about the cup on pens. Yeah, probably going back to Robbie's first spell, because obviously they were finishing consistently within the top bracket of the league under McInnes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't really remember them winning at Tynecastle too much.
I can just remember them
seems like it used to be a point or so.
Yeah. So that probably explains why last week I gave a hesitant 1-1 prediction, because I was thinking, listen, we've turned a corner here and Aberdeen are not doing well. However, Jim Goodwin's coming in and it is Aberdeen coming to Tynecastle. And
there's also the fact that they've drawn, both of Jim Goodwin's games 1-1. There's the fact that we drew against them 1-1 earlier on in the season at Tiny. So all these factors, that seemed as though it was going to be, the nailed-on scoreline.
Yes.
But thankfully, that wasn't the case.
Definitely not. And I'll be honest, I was a lot more confident when I saw the starting lineup. So we maintained the 4-2-3-1 that Robbie has changed in recent weeks, and the lineup was as follows. It was Gordon in goals, Kingsley and Atkinson as fullbacks, Suter and Halkett in the middle as 2 centre-halves, Devlin and Benny in the 2, Mackay, Boyce and GMS as a 3 in behind Sims, with Boyce notably in the 10. What did you make of that when you first saw it?
Delighted to see Ben Woodburn drop onto the bench, first and foremost. That was great. I was intrigued to see Liam Boyce in the role that his squad number suggests, to be honest. I had no qualms with us making one alteration, maybe max. I wouldn't have been surprised to have even seen us name an unchanged team. Obviously, there's more of that to come. I think, look, I probably shared the exact same viewpoint as you. Much more confident when seeing the team, albeit I think there was still kind of that scepticism where I don't know. See, when you just see the names, like my brain just goes absolutely bonkers with the formation. So I sort of had seen murmurs that it was a 4-2-3-1, Boyce, and then obviously GMS and Mackay either side, Sims. Yeah. So I was feeling good. I was feeling confident.
Well, the opening 10 minutes, barring us scoring, couldn't have really gone any better. We came out of traps flying.
Love an electric start at Tynecastle. Yep. How often do you see it?
I know.
It's actually a rarity. But I was thinking there is from the moment I think that game kicked off, it was never really in doubt, to be honest. Given the start that we made, the only frustration was, given we created as many good opportunities as we did, just that we hadn't taken one of them before eventually taking the lead in that game, absolutely. To be honest.
The opening 10 minutes had 3 very big chances. In the 4th minute, Benny plays it to Suter, who crosses it in, and GMS kind of just slices it at the back post. He's clearly wanting to cut across it.
That was so annoying. I was literally screaming. I could see it dead ahead of me. I was thinking, why on earth have you not taken a touch?
Yeah.
Just a wee touch. He doesn't realise how much time he's got because he just goes away at the back stick. A wee touch, maybe open up the body, slide it past Lewis. But no, it was one of the worst efforts. One of the worst efforts I've seen all season.
Well,
terrible.
3 minutes later, GMS does very well on
the
far side of where we were watching before laying it off for Stephen Kingsley, who puts in an excellent ball to Ellis Sims, who heads over from 5 yards. Very, very unlucky there. And then the biggest chance of them all, 4 minutes later in the 11th minute, Kingsley again plays a ball just through the heart of the Aberdeen defence. 2 boys, takes a touch perfectly, but then David Bates, who I want to get to soon, makes a really good block. And as we say, no goals, but a great start.
Great start. And that sort of opening exchange just reaffirmed my love for Stephen Kingsley. He's just such a cool, calm, composed customer. He's our best midfielder and he plays left back. How can that possibly be a thing? He's just unbelievable. Like even the boys' chance, that's the big one. And he's really unlucky because I think we do everything right. Kingsley's so calm. He waits, bides his time, picks the perfect pass for Boyce. And it's only down to David Bates, who coincidentally turns into Sergio Ramos, that Hearts do not take the lead there because I felt as though that was a great chance. Couldn't do anything better. And if he gets a shot away, then it's surely 1-0.
Yeah, definitely. And then 50 minutes later, in the 26th minute, Benny plays it away to Mackay, who finds Boyce, who then lays it off to Devlin, edge of the box. It's kind of a speculative shot that Joe Lewis kind of easily claims, not too badly. And then the first big moment of the match, really, comes in the 30th minute as Aberdeen have a free kick that is swung in. It goes in the back of the net from Declan Gallagher. However, Steve McLean pulls it back. Now, this was right in line with me. And I assumed when I saw it, it was offside. But it turns out, when you go and watch Sports Scene, it's actually given as a foul on Sims by Gallagher. What?
No chance.
No chance at all.
No, I'm not having that. I mean, we'll take it.
Oh, of course.
any manner of means. But that is never a foul in a million years. And obviously, it's at the other end of the ground from me. I too had assumed that it was offside. It was weird in that surely if it was a foul straight off, they blow there and then. It seemed like the passage of play, I know it's obviously the set piece, it seemed like the ball was allowed to enter the net. And then...
Yeah, because it trickled in. It wasn't like a bullet header or anything like that.
It was weird. And surely as soon as you see the foul, you blow. But there is no foul, so maybe that's why they haven't blown. And then a baffling decision. And look, I think Jim Goodwin was pretty honest in his post-match assessment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I can't dispute is that probably does change the dynamic of the game with Aberdeen then going 1-up. The crowd start to then get that little bit more ratty. So look, some of these go for you, some of them they don't. And I can't pretend that I wouldn't be absolutely fuming if I was an Aberdeen fan because needless to say, that goal should have stood.
Especially because 7 minutes later, we did open the scoring officially as Scott Brown gives away a foul on Cam Devlin, I think. I think it's on Devlin.
Yes, I think so.
He gets
booked for it, which I couldn't believe.
It's never amazing.
Of all the challenges that he's escaped the booking at Tynecastle, and he gets booked for that.
It's unbelievable.
Where is the logic here? And now I see that he could be hanging his boots up, if the papers are to be believed, the day that we were recording this.
His final game could be a loss at Tynecastle. How incredible could that be? Where he got subbed off.
And was arguably at fault for both goals.
Yep, exactly. Oh my God, I love football so much. It makes me so happy. But yeah, we did get a goal as the ensuing free kick is swung in by GMS. It gets kind of headed out to
his header. Header twice.
Yes, to our near side, the new stand. Devlin then plays it back in. Brown gets, him and Halkett kind of go up for it together.
Yeah.
And then it's one of them, they kind of connect with it. It then falls in front of John Souttar, who just absolutely lashes it. It takes a slight deflection on its way through, but I think with just the power it's hit with, Lewis has no chance, and it's 1-0.
No, he's getting nowhere near it, even if it's, the purest of pure strikes. Emphatic volley. And yeah, interesting to see the reception that John Souttar got after scoring, given that we know what's happening this summer.
Fuck it, he's helping us get third. I was buzzing.
But exactly, I was just delighted because, I think the only real nerves that I felt were that offside goal that should have stood. Other than that, Aberdeen didn't really do a lot, did they?
Let's speak about it, because immediately following it is the one and only highlight, barring the big.
And it's Ramirez from, miles out. Yeah.
That is, for my money, the worst Aberdeen performance at Tynecastle in the last decade. I can't remember one recently that bad. Because, as I say, there's always a part of me that worries a wee bit when Aberdeen comes to Tynecastle, particularly.
I feel like we've got to earn it.
Yeah, absolutely. But we didn't on Wednesday. No. It was, as you said, as soon as that opening 10 minutes started, it was like, if we keep doing this, we'll have no problems.
If we keep doing this but don't score, we'll be raging because we literally were on top from the get-go. I think it was more of a relief, I think, once we'd eventually taken the lead.
Yeah.
And given how poor Aberdeen were in that first half, I was talking to a couple of folk at half-time and whatever. I'm a big advocate for getting that second goal, but I really did feel as though as soon as we got it, that'd be it, because they offered absolutely nothing. And like you say, previously we'd have had to earn it against Aberdeen. They always make it tough. They're always usually backed by good travelling support. But that was as routine as I think we could have ever wished for.
Yeah, it was very reassuring for us and very worrying for Don's fans. I can't imagine what they are currently feeling, especially with them, what happened.
They'll just be thankful that St Johnstone and Dundee are remarkably even worse than they are.
Yes, that's very true. Half-time comes and goes. Not much really happens in the opening 10 minutes of the second half until we get the ball. Boyce plays a through ball to Barry Mackay.
I know it's coming. I knew what was coming here.
It's slightly behind him, so he has to track back a wee bit.
Yeah, it's too wide.
But Barry Mackay manages to get a shot off. However, it's saved and then goes out for a corner. Barry Mackay is never going to score for Hearts. Ever.
I feel like this is a common theme amongst every single Hearts podcast, every single prominent figure on Hearts Twitter. We're all sick of saying it to the point now where I think we're going to say it that much in the hope that there's some kind of jinx whereby us all saying it will eventually break this curse, because it has to happen at some stage. How it hasn't yet, I don't know. If he's got it saved for Saturday, that would just be brilliant. I just want it as soon as now, because the longer that it goes on, the less likely you think that it's going to become it's horrible. He must just be spewing. I'd be very intrigued to know his thoughts with regards to setting up his teammates as often as he does and not being on the receiving end of that just yet. How frustrating must that actually be?
I cannot imagine. However, as you say, setting up his teammates, the ensuing corner, it finally happened. Heart of Midlothian scored direct from a corner as Barry Mackay whips the ball in, and Stephen Kingsley, who I need to remind everybody this. Before he came to Hearts, he had one career goal. Since then, he's scored. This was his 7th goal for us.
5 this season.
5 this season.
From a centre-half stroke left-back.
Yeah. What a header. What a corner. And we'll get to it in the next game. I've found some intel that I think I know why we're suddenly good for corners now.
Interesting. That can obviously be saved for the United game, given our set play success. But yes, delighted for Stephen Kingsley because that goal capped off an all-round terrific performance. He was my man of the match by a country mile against Aberdeen. There was also an instance where I said we kind of had no real worries. There was a chance where Benny loses it in the middle of the park, and I'm amazed this didn't make any of the highlight reels. Aberdeen looked to be clean through on goal. I think it's the first half towards the Gorgie, if my memory serves me.
Oh yeah, he doesn't go in for Ramirez.
And Stephen Kingsley just comes out of nowhere, absolutely nowhere, miles behind everybody, and just mops up. And I just thought, my thoughts on Stephen Kingsley. He's probably my favourite player in this squad.
I get that. We got him for free, and we've now got him for another 3.5 years.
Just because I think he's one of those players that I'd sort of seen in the championship season. I thought he was so underrated, and now everybody realises the importance of him. What a cultured footballer. We're so lucky to have him, and even luckier that he's decided to extend his deal with us.
And particularly, remember how for the last prior to the championship season, probably the 3 years before that, we always had Smith on the right-hand side.
And absolutely nobody at left back.
Yeah, it was like, okay, we've got Smith, so the right-hand side's fine, but left back is terrible. Obviously, barring the 6 months where we had Hickey. But even then, Hickey could be suspect because of his age. Like, he wasn't...
Yeah, he's still a young boy. And left back, even in our times of being alive as Jambos, it's not been a great
We've had
position,
Lee Wallace, we've had Takis, and Granger. I love Granger because
Adam Eckersley for a season.
Championship season, aye. Yeah.
That's about it.
That is it.
What a player. I love him so much.
What a man. What a man. And yeah, that from then on, there was only one real big moment before it. However, Sims has a shot that rebounds to Barry Mackay, who lays it off for Liam Boyce, whose shot just narrowly goes past the post.
That was very unlucky. Because he doesn't even look at goal, and he just sends one, and that would have just been a fine finish. I felt for Boyce, obviously. We're going to talk about the United game, because you could just see that he was gagging on a goal.
But this is the thing, I don't understand. So Football Scotland, the website, they do like 3 talking points. And so as a result, I would think, right.
From each game, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, if you have 3 talking points, in my opinion, they should be the 3 most important things you want to hit. One of the points after the Aberdeen game was Boyce's frustration continues. And I think that's harsh because I thought he played very well against Aberdeen. He just didn't score.
And that was after a professional performance in Paisley as well, where you said he's at the heart of both goals, really. So this is what's wrong with modern football for me. I don't want to go all Hearts da here, but see everybody's sort of, I better choose my words carefully. Everybody's obsession with stats, goals, games, droughts. Nobody views matches with their eyes anymore. Everybody
I actually think the complete opposite. When you said it's a problem with modern football, I was going to say it's a problem with that old mentality of Boyce is only good if he scores a goal. Whereas
I hear that.
Whereas in Luke, he's the complete
it's some sort of evil blend.
Yeah,
of both.
Yeah.
I think for those that don't watch Hearts on a regular basis, they'll look at Boyce's goals and think, "Wow, he's just an out-and-out goal scorer."
Yeah.
And then they'll look at the drought that he's on and think, well, hold on a second. He's got 15 this season, but he hasn't scored in however many games. So, I don't know. You need to watch him on a regular basis to appreciate how good a footballer he is.
Definitely. As I said on Twitter, the best striker in my lifetime. No one close to him.
That's big praise. That's big praise.
I just don't think there is. Like, I genuinely just don't think. I mean, there's nobody in terms of actual goal scoring.
Well, I say it's big praise. We have seen some absolute jobbers play up front for us.
There's only like 5 options I could pick.
So really, is it that much of an achievement, Liam, if Daniel Doves be the best Hearts centre forward he's seen? It's not against Liam Boyce. It's more against countless strikers that we've seen get off to a great start and then be atrocious in front of goal for us.
Yeah. Well,
I love this football club, man. They're going to be the death of me, 100%. Even when things are going swimmingly, we find something to have some sort of gripe with.
Well, what was nearly the death of Robbie Nielsen? What happened next?
How did we even forget? I'd forgotten all about this. This is a disgrace.
So, Aberdeen get a free kick. It's swung in from, as I say, our near side at the main stand. Swung in, goes all the way out to Lewis Ferguson. Lewis Ferguson picks the ball up on the edge of the box, runs into the box, and then I'll try and be diplomatic here. Nathaniel Atkinson swings out a leg and makes some form of contact with Lewis Ferguson's foot. Then Lewis Ferguson takes another step, then swings his foot back and flops down. And Stephen McLean goes, "That's a penalty." I couldn't believe it. Like, even watching it in real time, I was like, there is no way he's given that. I've
got to be honest. I don't know if it's because it was the other side and it's over towards the Wheatfield stand, isn't it, really? Yeah. Albeit Aberdeen are shooting towards the Roseburn. I don't know if it's because of the players that are obstructing my view up in the stand. I just thought it looked like Atkinson had stuck out the leg. In which case, I'm thinking, why have you done that? Because that's what do you know what I mean? Like, that's what the attacking player is looking for. He's ensuring that there is contact in order to go down, and then there can be no complaints that it is a spot kick. But the contact doesn't even arrive, and I couldn't believe it. Obviously, I hadn't seen it back before I then got back into the car after the game. And I always listen to Sports Sound when I'm driving home after Hearts games. This obviously being no different. And they were talking, I think it was like more on the Celtic game first and foremost. And then it eventually got to the Hearts Aberdeen game. And by this stage, I'd reached like the quick-fitted Chesser. So I've got a good load of my journey home. And I was just listening to Robbie and I was actually pissing my pants laughing at what he was coming out and saying, because fair play, like, he's right. I'm a big admirer of Lewis Ferguson from afar. I like listening to his dad on the radio and Open Goal and whatever. He's a good player and will undoubtedly earn his move away from Aberdeen. I'm surprised it's not already came. But come on. Like, is this what you're having to resort to in the game? Robbie was 100% right. And the thing that he'll look at it is these little decisions change games. He's lucky that, obviously, Lewis Ferguson, who had a 100% record from the spot, is denied, and we'll get to that. But say Aberdeen nick a point when they didn't deserve to, having clawed their way back in, then Robbie feels more pressure. The squad arguably feel more pressure. We could then have gone on a barren run and the squad will be all right, but it's the gaffer that loses his job. So I can totally get his frustration with divers in the game. And I like Lewis Ferguson, but he's at it by thinking that was acceptable, because it's not. There's never a spot kick in a million years. No chance. It's
a shocking decision. However, as you say, Lewis Ferguson, who had a 100% penalty record in his career, never mind just
11 from 11, I think.
11 from 11. And Craig Gordon, who is famed for not being particularly the best saver of penalties. However, he was just off the back of saving back-to-back penalties in the last shootout he was in against Livingston. I'll be honest, obviously, catching a penalty is a good save, but I think that penalty summed up Aberdeen's night. It is pathetic. A shockingly bad penalty from Lewis Ferguson.
Pathetic. But if CG dives the other way,
it's
and he
like,
scores.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, I think, did Gordon also save his last penalty for Scotland?
Yeah, he did in the game where Nathan Patterson scored.
Yeah, was it Moldova, I think?
Maybe, yeah.
So yeah, he's making a decent wee habit of that as of late. Well, I say that, obviously. Remember the weekend. The weekend. Yeah. Take that back. But yeah, you're right. Shocking pen. And it's
shocking decision.
Yeah, like Robbie says, justice had been served. Perfect height for him. And I'm surprised you've not touched on this, given you absolutely love him. Massive fan of him just bodying Cammy Devlin and wanting to start a counter-attack as Devlin's coming towards him to like thank him for the save. Gordon's just like, aye, very good. Pulls it out to Barry Mackay, looks to start a counter. My goalkeeper. Love that.
Oh my God, love them. And then that took the wind, if there was anything in the Aberdeen sails.
It was terrible.
The wind
that was it. That was the game done from there on in. I don't think anything happened.
There was one thing, because let's make it a trifecta of terrible decisions by referees. Halkett goes down in the Aberdeen box. There is as much, if not more, contact than the Lewis Ferguson penalty, but it's waved away. It's almost laughably waved away. Like McLean just goes, get up.
We are lucky that the game panned out the way that it did. Yeah, and it doesn't have any real bearing on the outcome of the match. It most likely won't have a bearing on the outcome of our season, you know, because it's not like we're going to pip somebody to goal difference, hopefully.
Yeah.
So, you know what? That's just one of them where... let's move on, because we're sick of talking about referees. We do it every single week on this podcast, without fail, not even just in Hearts games, but games across the board. And this is no different. So, it's an absolute joke.
Chris Finn, who is one of the editors of the Terrace podcast, he sent out a tweet because of a decision that happened in the Hibs and Johnson game from the weekend. He said that he has a conspiracy theory that refs are deliberately being really bad this season, so more people are accepting of VAR coming
in. Wow. Imagine if that was some kind of evil SFA, SPFL ploy. Surely they've not got the brains for that.
Yeah, exactly. They're not that intelligent.
That would be amazing if that came out and that was actually the case. But we'll see. It's an interesting theory. I've heard some interesting football theories, but that's up there.
And yeah, that was the end of the match. Obviously, as you said, Jim Goodwin was very, very honest. I really rated him for that. He said that if they'd got anything from that game, it would have been daylight robbery.
How we're seeing them so close. Obviously, the Don's dugout was literally, you know,
I'm right above
dead in line with you.
It's just I was sad that he was sad, but I hope he continues just looking class, as he always does.
He was left even more glum after the weekend, which I'm sure you're going to come on to.
Well, a perfect segue, as we were hoping to maintain this momentum going forward as Saturday came around and we travelled to Tannadice. But of course, we'll go around the grounds first of all in a much less exciting round of fixtures, really, than the midweek games. As we'll start with what you just said, Rangers again getting a narrow 1-0 victory against Aberdeen, a very late came-on-roof winner at Ibrox. Motherwell continued their search for a win in 2022 as well, as they drew 1-1 with Dundee. Ross County continued this European train, still going as they beat Stephen Robinson's St Mirren, who still haven't even had a shot on target under him in 3 games.
Wow. Didn't know that.
It's either not had a shot on target or has had 2 shots on target in 3 games. It's like they basically haven't had a shot on target.
And they play tomorrow night, the night of this podcast release, away at Dens. I've gone 1 each. I hadn't known that stat, but the shots on target, so thanks for that. That'll be 1-0 Dundee. Mark McGee and his Dundee are just going to overtake St Johnstone with 8 games to go.
Yeah.
Superb shithousery from the cinch. You got to love it.
What a laugh. Hibs continued their love affair for 0-0 draws as they drew 0-0 with St Johnstone. And then
I'm seeing a pattern developing for, you know, when we're back from the Cup and I can churn out these predictions. Yeah, I don't know who Rangers... I think it is Dundee again. I think they play Dundee. So Rangers will win that 1-0 at Dens. And Hibs, whoever they play after Motherwell, Hibs Motherwell. That's got 0-0 in the cup written all over it, doesn't it? Motherwell can't even win a game.
That's going to pens, isn't it?
Oh, 100%.
Then on Sunday, Celtic got their first win against Livingston away since 2007.
Can I just say that stat? Right. Let's just all calm down. They've played 5 times.
That's still insane, though. Even just that stat, like 5 games in a row, Livingston haven't lost to Celtic at home.
It's 3 draws and two wins for Livy.
Right? What's our record?
No, I know, 5. but this is how stats get so blown out of proportion.
Taking it away from David Martindale. That's the best of any other club in the country.
Because I just sang Livy's praises. I've got to knock them in some way, shape, or form.
No,
as I do. I was delighted to see Scott McIntosh chuck up the goals from the first ever game that I attended. Hearts 2, Livy 1, the Andy Kirk goals. Great goals.
Where it comes from? Is it that you saw Livy lose in your first game, so therefore it was like, right, these are my main enemies now forever?
No, I don't know. I don't know what it is, mate. Just see when you see like Celtic on Sunday and they're taking the 3 stands, the plastic park.
Yeah.
I appreciate where they've come from. It's great, but come on.
But fuck you is Adam's message.
But brilliant. Good for you.
Great. Well, anyway, we travelled to Tannadice.
Are you not going to ask my thoughts on the other games?
No, you've given up that right after just bad-mouthing Livy for no other reason.
Can I just say, Ross County will finish in the European places. There you go.
Wow.
Kmart Roof's goal knows absolutely nothing about it. I thought Rangers would absolutely demolish Aberdeen, having just seen them in the midweek match be terrible against us at Tynecastle. Any other surprises? Hibs 0, St Johnstone 0.
That's not a surprise.
I know. My surprise was opting for Hibs to nick it 1-0, despite them having 11 players or whatever it is out injured, just because I think St Johnstone are rubbish. But hey ho, there you go. Elsewhere, what did I say? I said 1-0 Motherwell. Can't believe a COVID-struck Dundee managed by Mark McGee. They can't even beat them at Fir Park. No wonder they all want Alexander out. Shambles. Looking elsewhere. Yeah, like I say, man. Ross County, what a team the Staggies are. Flying.
Well, we hope to solidify third with a win as Robbie Nielsen, for the first time since October, names an unchanged 11.
Couldn't believe that when I saw that on Heart Stats. They had a couple corkers on Saturday as well, obviously, given how the game panned out.
Right, let's just get into this, because this game, I've noticed this. So we've played Dundee United 3 times this season, and every game has probably been the best of the season between us. Oh,
I cannot remember a time where I'd like to think that Hearts and United have shared some good battles over a season. This has got to be up there with the very best. And that's, I was thinking about it and I was thinking, why has that been the case? But then both clubs, I think, did United bypassed us.
Yeah.
And then obviously we've had another season out the Prem. So this is probably the strongest that the two have been at the same time for a good while. Yeah. And I think that's probably reflected in the trio of games that we've shared. Because what's that now? That must be 9-4 Hearts over the 3 games. Yeah. So 13 goals in the 3. So you're averaging 4 goals a game.
Yeah.
Unbelievable cinch action. Love
Fantastic quick maths from Adam Kennedy there.
Thanks, mate.
Well, and talking about quick, Hearts got off to a very quick start here, as immediately within 30 seconds, Liam Smith, playing as Pirlo in this game, attacks the box, and Suter manages to make a block, which immediately lands in the hands of Gordon, who just, much like he did, as you said, after he saved Lewis Ferguson's penalty, just sends the ball up from a throw to Barry Mackay.
Mackay.
Exactly.
Folk are going to latch onto that soon.
Exactly. Who drives forward, plays it inside to GMS, who just really nicely tees up Boyce, who is facing away from goal on his weaker foot and doesn't take a touch and lashes it in off the post. 48 seconds in, we're 1-0 up, and the curse that we gave Liam Boyce is over.
Sorry, Boise. Still got time. 5 to go.
Exactly. It was just today in the evening news speaking about it being interviewed.
Yeah, saw that. With was it Barry Anderson's article?
Yes,
yeah. Phenomenal finish, and very much like the Aberdeen chance at 2-0, I think, where he barely even gets a sighted goal.
Yeah.
And he's sort of hits and hopes. I'd like to think it's a bit of a better technique than that, but it's a fine finish. Very, very good goal. And could not believe the start that we made. For those that are watching the YouTube version, you'll obviously see that I'm up the road. I'm at my granddad's because, like I say, we're going up to Cameron House. My parents are already there. So I had the dog on Saturday afternoon, as I have, whilst they've been living it up Friday to Friday. You're welcome, Mum and Dad, if you're listening. So I was out with Dusty on Saturday afternoon, just walking along Pennycook House, and then it got to 3 o'clock. And I thought, I'll just, have a wee nosy at the scores and whatever. Then I just see live score flash up. Dundee United 0, Hearts 1. I'm like, what on earth's going on here? Absolutely sensational scenes. After a minute. That's our quickest goal in years.
Yeah, in ages. I can't mind anything that's...
I can think of one where I think, was it last season even maybe, where Ollie Lee scored in the League Cup after about 3 minutes.
We scored twice in 6 minutes against East
that's right.
Or East Fife or something.
I think it was East Fife.
Yeah.
But in terms of a league game, now we'd be searching back. There's one for Hearts Stats if you're listening. Get that searched up and get that tweeted to us. But fantastic goal, and remarkably, considering we probably should have conceded at the other end, we're somehow a goal up, and that just highlights the fine margins within football.
And then the wheels fell off in the most unbelievable way possible.
Can I just say, this highlights package must have been absolutely murder to chuck together. I don't think Hearts TV or Sports Scene could have done any more, because that first half was as dull as boring, given the changes. I watched it back, and I was literally watching it thinking, how on earth, what are they going to do here in terms of the highlights? Because it was literally just change, stoppage in play, change. How are you meant to gather any form of rhythm when you're losing virtually, a quarter of your 11 within half an hour?
Well, we'll speak about that now, because in the 8th minute, GMS does something to his wrist. I don't know what it is, but he looks in a lot of pain, so gets subbed off for Cochrane. I'm just going to, for the next 7 points...
Don't even go off, there was next to no first half chances. So, just give us the subs.
So, GMS is replaced by Cochrane. Then, 10 minutes later, Ian Hart's hits a shot that goes wide. Then, 6 minutes later, probably the only other highlight for us in that half, Devlin tries to play a ball through to Boyce, but it's intercepted by Miskinen, who nearly scores the most insane own goal you've ever seen.
That was incredible.
Before, Sims does an amazing flick over the entire Dundee United defence, but just hits over. And then, this is where the run happens. So, 30th minute, Devlin does his hamstring, is off for Haring. 39th minute, Alex Cochrane, who was subbed on for GMS, gets subbed off for Andy Halliday due to concussion. 3 minutes later, Nielsen comes on, not the gaffer, they're Nielsen, gets subbed on for Ryan Edwards.
His boy.
Yes, exactly. Gets subbed on for Ryan Edwards, who took a massive elbow to the face and broke his face from Sims. And
that was a corker.
Aye. I think he should have been sent off for that. It's so bad. And then at half-time, Atkinson gets brought off for Gino. And that's the first half. 5 changes.
God bless the Singe.
I think it was Joel Sked who said it on the commentary. That physio got his wages worth out of that game. I've never seen it. I know Robbie said it. He's been in the game for 25 years. He's never seen a game like it. We've got more injuries to come, by the way. It isn't finished yet, but this was just the first half.
Yeah, that's just a wee teaser.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Andy Halliday in this
struggling
game
for words here.
came on, played right back, played right wing back, played left wing back, played centre mid, and finished in the
reminiscent of Paisley. every Saturday, he's going to have to fill about 5 positions.
I couldn't believe it.
I'm amazed that this sort of game didn't arise under Levine when we had all those injuries.
No, this is what happened.
Months on end.
It was the 6 months of Levine in one half.
Yeah. Robbie's been relatively lucky with having the majority of his playing squad available at the one time. So all of it's just come crashing down on one afternoon.
I couldn't believe it. Because also, see if you read that, see if you didn't watch that game and you see that all the subs are due to injury, you would think, God, that was a really hard-hitting, heavy tackling game.
You'd have expected a feisty affair and both teams going gung-ho.
The only one that comes as a result of a challenge is the Dundee United one. All 5 of our subs in that first half are just on their own issues.
Bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. And yeah, it was only then, once I got back from taking Dusty a walk, that I watched the second half. So I watched it, I watched the second half as it was being played, and then went back to watch the first half. A crazy game. Absolutely crazy game.
Yeah, mental. And then the second half started off as crazy as the first half ended.
That was great. I was thinking that obviously I've done us here, because as soon as my bum's on the seat, I've sat down, got the laptop up, and then before my bum's even touched the couch, we've conceded a goal.
Because Liam Smith, as I hinted at earlier, turned into prime Pirlo in this game, playing centre mid. And by the way, who would have ever said that about Liam Smith? Who would have guessed that we'd be seeing this about Liam Smith?
I not once did I see this at Rickerton or at Tynecastle.
No, exactly. But immediately from kickoff, a long ball's played forward from Dundee United. It's knocked down to Liam Smith, who just goes, "Fuck this, I'm hitting this." And it is an absolute raker right into the top corner.
Worldy. Takes matters into his own feet and just lashes it. Gordon has no chance.
Because it goes away from him as well. Like you see it in
there's a replay, virtually right behind the goal.
Yeah.
It's got all sorts of gear on it. Bend, dip, everything. Great goal. And it was just one of them where you're just like, what can we do about that?
Yeah, exactly. And then 10 minutes later, it gets even worse. As another long ball is played forward, it is knocked down, but this time to Nicky Clark, who there was debate about the penalty in the last game. There is no debate about this penalty. A Suter just slides in, hurts himself while doing it, and Nicky Clark wins a penalty and scores the ensuing penalty. And at this point, we're 2-1 down. Genuinely, my thought was, right, just get out. Just take this. Listen.
It's one of them that you just take on the chin.
Yeah.
Like, that, again, sort of like from the Aberdeen game instantly kicking off, it seemed as though we were led into this false start. And ever since that goal, it was just like anything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. Yeah. It's just amazing that United hadn't scraped back into the game before. There was the Hart shot, obviously, you touched on with Willie Collum getting in his way.
Yeah.
That was about as fortunate as we got towards sort of, 70, 75 minutes. And what is it with former Hearts players or even sons of former Hearts players looking to come back and do us here? Because, again, you took the words out of my mouth. It's the polar opposite of the Aberdeen game. Stonewall pen, can't have any complaints. The only annoyance is, having taken the lead, we then shoot ourselves in the foot a wee bit and trail with a depleted squad.
Absolutely. And I think this is hard for us. I think it's hard to do analysis in this game because I think that starting 11 that starts wins that game.
And you can't argue against it with, we're on the front foot from the get-go with getting that early goal. It's then sort of making our dominance count, but we didn't even get the opportunity to dominate given the stop-start nature of the game, the amount of changes that occurred within, the early exchanges. And United will feel that they were in a contest, but they'll share the exact same frustrations that the game was as bonkers as it was.
Yeah,
but not a brilliant bonkers. If it's a brilliant bonkers, then everybody's a winner. But this was just, both teams probably felt like they've lost.
I don't know. In reality, the way we got a point, I felt like we won.
But this is what I was going to say. But in reality, we'll take that.
Yeah.
Because, given the manner of the game.
Absolutely. Well, 6 minutes later, another sub as John Suter, because of how he hurt himself in that challenge, is replaced by Toby Sibic.
Can I just say, I know that we'll get on to previewing St Mirren. Let's not even bother with 11s because we have no idea who's back. Yeah, predicting this, I'm delighted it's the cup weekend because for who scored, I'm obviously to give the probable lineups as well. Haven't the foggiest who's available and who's not. So we'll just, end with a score prediction.
Absolutely. And then the game kind of starts to peter out because we just have no rhythm. We have no consistency. We don't have a game plan. Everybody's having to constantly change positions, move about the place. Barry Mackay swings in a corner that's met by Halkett on the half volley, but Seagrass saves. And Gino gives away a foul. I think also, I was saying about Sims, I think Gino was lucky to stay on the park because he dives 5 minutes earlier. It is a blatant dive and he doesn't get booked for it, and I don't understand how. And then the foul he gives away here, he jumps in with his elbow high, and I thought he's lucky to get away with just a booking there.
The lack of consistency with regards to diving in simulation is astounding.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a big frustration amongst many of the officials that there isn't really any clarification with regards to diving in simulation.
Rule.
Yeah, there's nothing sort of set in stone that you go, do you know what? For me, it should just be an instant booking, but obviously officials in Scotland don't see it that way. So in that case, you're spot on. That is lucky to remain on the park.
I saw a thing with Gino where it was that I didn't realise how he got hurt at the very end because Gino, he didn't get subbed because the game was finished.
Yeah,
and Gino got hurt as well.
I noticed that after it was like 6 injuries and 5 changes, and I was like, hold on a second. So the 5 changes were for 5 injuries, but then I wanted to know who the other one was. Elaborate on Gino.
So Gino at the very end, I think it's similar to Devlin's. He kind of pulls up in the last few minutes, and then when the final whistle blows and everyone's coming on the pitch shaking hands, Gino's just lying on the ground with a physio dealing with them. So Gino's the injury that kind of people missed because it happened right at the very end, so we'll have to see the severity of that.
Everybody's vacating the stands of Tannadice, and there's Gino and the physio after it, just watching the stadium empty on out.
Exactly. Then the game kind of turns on a single moment where I don't know who it is for United, but a United player slips as Sims is running through.
Yes. And then Ross Graham recovers.
Yes.
It's down the right-hand side. I want to say it's Smith, but I've got no idea, to be honest. I'd need to watch it back.
Sims, as you say, potentially could cut it back to Gino, who's there, but I understand why he takes the shot. But as you say,
100%.
Ross Graham,
he's a striker and he's greedy.
Yeah, Ross Graham blocks the shot. The resulting corner is met by Haring, who just narrowly headers.
That was unlucky.
Yeah. And then 3 minutes later, we get the ball on the far side. Gino kind of does a wee bit of part try to get past someone, and then Toby Sibic just kind of barrels into everything, takes the ball almost off Gino, hits it against, I think it's Nicky Clark who's back defending, get a corner. Barry Mackay, for the second time in 2 games, swings a corner in. It's met by the returning Craig Halkett. What a man. He loves a goal for us, particularly in latter stages. And listen, that's the last thing that happens in the game. We managed to nick a point. And for me, that is one of the biggest points of the season. I know it's not a win, but in terms of what that shows about this squad, that, listen, the circumstances are likely to never happen again in terms of how crazy it was. And so many previous Hearts teams, particularly in the last few years, would have crumbled. They potentially would have conceded again, or they just never would have got back in it. And I would sit in there going, right, listen, as I say, this is kind of a write-off. You can't really criticise too much for this because everything happened. The fact that we managed to go away from home, 5 injuries, 3 of them inside 31 minutes, 80th minute equaliser, that says so much about this team.
Yeah, I think the only sort of, or the most picky amongst Hearts fans would be disappointed with dropping 2 points from a winning position, which I get, but that goes out the window for me, because I think it proves the quality that we've got within the squad. The depth to a certain extent, although it'd be interesting to see what 11's fielded on Saturday now. So, yeah, it could well prove to be a pivotal point, if we're being honest. Say we wrap up third pre-split, or, a game or two into the split, then every single point has ultimately been a prisoner, and that will have contributed to it. The draw in Dundee being no different. And you spoke about how
third, by the way.
Okay. I'm not going to dispute or no. I was amazed with Heart Stats chucking out, the stuff about Halkett as well. That's now 10 goals for us.
Yeah.
And you briefly touched on it there. 9 of which have come in the last 15 minutes. That's crazy.
He loves 5 goals.
5 late equalisers, obviously Ibrox being the most notable one, and 2 winners. I think what one against Stenhouse Muir.
Yeah, we were there.
Yeah. I was trying to think of the other late winner.
I know, I can't think of what it was. But I just love him. I love him so much, and it's so evident how big he has been for us.
And can I just say, those that said that he couldn't play in a back four, myself included, we can put that theory to bed as well, because with this change of shape, he's been every bit as good as John Souttar. And obviously it helps with having Stephen Kingsley to recover for him on his side. So, yeah, I was going to say we're in good shape, but talk to me about talk to me at 6:45 on Saturday, or 6:45 on Saturday once I see the team be announced for St Mirren. But if you'd have offered me 4 points from 6, I'd have been happy to take that with Aberdeen and United. And just hope that we can progress in the cup, book another trip to Hampden, then get back to the league matters, wrap up third as quickly as we can, and see what happens in the cup. That's my ultimate goal. That would be a delight.
And yeah, we're now good from corners.
Yeah. When was the last time we scored in back-to-back games from corners?
This is the intel.
Go on.
I don't know when it was exactly, but we have recently hired Fleetwood's, I don't even know what his title is, but set piece guy, basically. And when he was at Fleetwood, they were the highest scoring team from corners.
In League One?
In whatever league they were in at the time. I don't know what league Fleetwood are even in right now. But
one, I think.
Maybe. But he has come in, and Robbie 2 weeks ago said that he didn't say that they brought anybody in, but he said that we've massively changed the way we're doing corners. And since then, we've played 2 games and scored 2 goals for corners.
Fair.
And now,
proof's in the pudding, isn't it?
Barry Mackay is alone in the most assists, in the entire league. Only Tavernier's ahead of him.
Player.
My dad described him as our quarterback. In the sense that when he gets the ball, the only job role that the other players have is to stop opposition getting near him, so then he can play a ball in.
Quite like that. Yeah, it's not bad. Because I thought even a quarterback, Stephen Kingsley would surely be more natural given given his position on the park. Oh, even CG.
Gordon's
I was going to say Gordon to Barry Mackay, ultimately.
Yes, exactly, literally. And he can actually throw it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Trent Gordon, quarterback.
What a nice notion it is to have a variety of players that you can depend upon to carve out chances, score goals, win games. We've missed this for years. It's great. It's really nice. Well, I'm happy.
Hopefully, they're carving out chances, scoring goals and getting assists this weekend as Stephen Robinson, St Mirren, travel to Tynecastle in the Scottish Cup quarter-final.
Can't wait to see them win at Dens on Wednesday night before they take us on. No, that's nothing. Get down the bookies now.
How are you feeling about this? Because obviously, I'm just going to preface this now. I'm really worried.
This is the thing. We've got no reason to be worried. Yet, sort of history against St Mirren this season is the only thing that has me worried.
That is exactly it. We've played them 3 times this season and we've won all 3.
Yeah.
That can't keep happening.
Yeah, there has to be one. We've even lifted this Paisley hoodoo
They've also had a guy sent off in every game we've played them this season.
Oh yeah, this can't be. This can't be like Hearts. Something's got to come here. Hearts can't make it 4 from 4. Would a draw after extra time, but ultimately our progression? I mean, I'm taking that as 4 from 4. I know that the most technically be like, well, you've drawn the game, you've not won, but ultimately it'd be our name that'd be in the hat for the semis. So
exactly.
Get it round you. Just win.
What is your score prediction then? Because we're not doing lineups because literally we have no idea who's fit.
Haven't the foggiest. We've also recorded back-to-back 2-0 wins against them, so surely they've got to score. I'll go 3-1 Hearts. Why have I just done that? Why have I just done that? We've not even scored over. I think we scored over 2 goals once this season, and that was against United. A lot of it depends on Wednesday night. I never thought I'd be at the stage where I'm begging Dundee to win a football match. Come on, please. As much as it would be brilliant to have, St Mirren on a downer, they've not won under Robinson yet, have they?
That's what I'm saying. They've not scored. 3
straight defeats. Dundee would overtake St Johnstone, who we just want to get relegated so that we don't have to go back to McDiarmid Park. All the stars are aligning here. Please, Dundee, I'm begging you. Please, just find it within you. I hope that all those players stuck with COVID are back, that they can name a strong team and do St Mirren on Wednesday night. That would be great. So they won't.
And it'll be a struggle. 3-0 St Mirren victory as they come to Tynecastle confident, because I am predicting that we will win on penalties. I think it's going all the way. Oh yeah, I don't care. I don't care if we win by a 120th minute should be disallowed goal. I don't.
That's come from Craig Halkett's bonds yet again.
Exactly. I do not care. We could, because I am very much that type of person who, like, especially with the current team that we've got and the progression we're making under Nielsen, I'm very much results over performance. But particularly in the cup, I never care how we play in a cup game as long as we win. That's it. No,
and with a potentially depleted team. Just find it within you. 3-1 was strong, wasn't it? That was a mistake. Do you know what? I'm hoping that all the boys are going to be back and that we can, march comprehensively to the National Stadium. That would be fantastic.
To get battered of one half of the Old Firm.
Most likely. But if they draw one another, and then we're left with...
And we get Motherwell
or Hibs.
It's Motherwell. Come on, Graham Alexander, get your first win.
And then be terrible up to that semi-final. Yes, exactly. That would be grand. Yeah.
I actually do think it'll be both Edinburgh clubs and both Glasgow clubs in the semi-finals. I can't deal with playing Hibs at Hampden again.
Oh, Jesus whipped. Oh, God. That would... My ticker. I'm meant to turn 24 this year. I'll be lucky to see it. Oh, dear God.
Well, we've got to get past Stephen Robinson's St Mirren first.
Oh, boys.
But yes, we will speak about that and so much more next week. But thank you very, very much for listening to this episode. It's been a great time. We're actually positive. I know we've kind of been quite negative or worried there at the end.
No, I think we've been as positive as
actually,
can be.
You've said 3-1. What am I talking about? You're the most positive you've ever been against a cup tie. So I
even praised the gaffer in his post-match words. What on earth is happening?
What's happening? This is a bad omen for Saturday. We're going to get beat now.
That's got 2-0 Saints written all over it.
Exactly. But until then, we'll see you next time. We hope you have enjoyed it. Please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice if you have done. It really does help. We're at Perth to Paisley on all the socials, as you can see if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you are, please leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. It's much appreciated. We're starting to see like similar names, and that's class. It's really cool to see people who we recognise coming back each and every week. So we really do appreciate it. If you want to give us a message, and the email, we're perthpaisley@gmail.com as well. Adam, where can they get you on social media?
And get me on all the socials at Adam T. Kendall. And what about yourself, mate?
I'm at DMcIver22. We'll be back next week to discuss all the fallout for the cup game. and
the 3-1 win.
Yep, the upcoming league fixtures. But until then, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Come on, the Hearts!